Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Opcast podcast. I'm your host, Beau Higgins, and I am honored and privileged to be here today with Gena Pirtle, a longtime friend of mine and one of the OGs in the veteran hiring and talent space that helped me kind of learn the ropes back when I started in the space a few years back. So, Gena, welcome to the program.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Bo. It's so great to reconnect with you. We had so much fun back in the days when I was at Cisco. You're at Amazon, and really happy to be in the same space with you. And by the way, I learned a lot from you too. So back at you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, hey, we'll start off, and again, so many things to cover about the time we worked together back at Amazon and at Cisco, but would really let it go to back it up even before that is like, what kind of drove your passion or drove you to have a focus on veteran military recruiting at all in the first place?
I'm married to an Army veteran, and so that definitely is something that I witnessed. He and I met as he was transitioning out of the military. And so while I wasn't a military spouse, meaning I wasn't deployed, I was with him as he was starting out his career. And I saw that there was not a lot of understanding of the type of skills and leadership capabilities that he brought to the table as he was kind of navigating his new civilian career. And so I think that was kind of one of the first things, but I've always been really passionate about the military and supporting our military community. I have actually helped volunteer for a number of different charitable organizations that help veterans and military spouses. And so I consider myself an ally and a fortunate one because it actually led me to pursue kind of a whole kind of career track around how do we help bring in great military talent, retain that talent. But I think it's just kind of who I am as a person. A lot of my career has been driven by passion and purpose. And I built my career at Cisco 27 years, really following my purpose and my passion and building programs and strategies that kind of helped others lift them up and help guide them through their own careers. And we can talk a little bit about some of those programs, but I think it's just something that I've always felt like I wanted to give back and honor those folks that really just do so much incredible work to help support us and to support our country.
I love that. And obviously your passion for our veteran and military community comes through in everything that you do. And I do want to go back to 27 years at Cisco is a long time. I had 25 years in the Marine Corps. That's a long time. So it's hard to believe that you did 27 years at Cisco.
Yeah.
But what was your, maybe hit on some, usually a lot of the military candidates, we talk about their time or 25 years in the military. I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey through Cisco and kind of how you navigated that.
Yeah, no, thank you. And what's interesting, because when I actually look at my career, it was a career of constant transition and change. And so looking back all those years back and think about working at a tech company that was really in the early stages, right? And how that evolution really kind of shaped my own career. And so when I look back, I think I counted, I had almost 20 managers or leaders that I reported to during that time. So I was always ready to shift and move and be agile and really kind of figure out how can I bring value and how can I ensure that I was helping my company, evolve. And so I think about transitions in the military, and you're constantly figuring out how do you make that leap. I definitely feel like that's part of how I navigated all those years and how I was able to sustain those great years that I had at Cisco. So a lot of change, a lot of courage to just step into roles that maybe you didn't think that you were prepared for. I know when I stepped into leading the veterans and military affairs work at Cisco, I wasn't a veteran, I wasn't necessarily a military spouse, but I knew how to build great workforces and how to tap into great culture. And so when I was tapped on the shoulder to lead that, I definitely had a little bit of anxiety, is this the right role for me? But I leaned right into it, and I had a great support system. Our Vets ERG was a big partner with me. And so just leaning on those people to help as you navigate those changes and shifts, I think is what sustained me.
A couple things that come to mind in what you just said. One is the idea of culture. And I talk about culture a lot when I talk to transitioning veterans, because I think the reality is every company has their own culture. Amazon's culture is different than Cisco's, different than JP Morgan's, different than, Microsoft or Apple or whatever it is. They all have their unique culture. Not good, not bad, just they're different. And I think for a transitioning veteran, understanding that and really digging into understanding what the culture is and if they're going to be a fit for that culture is a hugely important thing to do that often gets overlooked. People think, oh, the job is great or the name is great. But if you're not a good cultural fit, you likely won't be staying there for a long time. So my question really is, well, how would you describe the culture at Cisco? What made it a good place for veterans to be successful, or what was kind of the uniqueness of the culture there?
At Cisco, it really was about tapping into purpose, tapping into our value was to power an inclusive future for all. We all kind of aligned to that vision and figured out, like, how do I help championing this inclusive culture? I think part of the culture is also very innovative, very nimble. And so I think that, if you're looking for the culture of a company, especially from the outside in, there's a few ways to kind of get a sense of that. Obviously, as you go through the various interview processes, you kind of get a sense based on the people that you're meeting, but absolutely leverage the network out there. And I know at Cisco, and many times myself, people would reach out and just want to have conversations and chats, and I'd be happy to talk about what it's like to work there. But another way that you can really get to understand a company and where their heart and soul is, read their annual report. At Cisco, we have a purpose report. Sometimes they call it a corporate social responsibility report. See where they're investing. See how they're showing up in, for example, the military-friendly employer surveys. What are they doing to really demonstrate that it's not just words that they say they're military-friendly, but are they ready to embrace, those that are transitioning, and are they ready to figure out ways to retain, to keep that great talent within the company? So culture is kind of definitely unique, and there's lots of ways to kind of navigate or figure out if it's the right culture for you. I have to say, Cisco has an amazing culture, and that's what kept me there for so long, because it was really centered around people first and how people really make a great company. And I think you can say that probably throughout your career, and certainly in the military as well.
I love what you said, because I think that's a very important point you make about what is a military-friendly company? Because a lot of companies, to be fair, will say they're military-friendly, but not put the resources out there to invest in actually having dedicated resources to support their veterans, to really help not only hire them, but to your point, to invest in them, to retain them. That's what, to me, a real military-friendly culture is. I mean, again, no one ever says, I don't want veterans. That's never going to happen, right? But I think a lot of companies say they're veteran friendly, but don't really put anything behind, we fly the flag, or, we give you off for Memorial Day and Veterans Day. I mean, that's great, but what are you really doing to invest resources into your military community to show that you are putting your money where your mouth is? And I think that's the difference maker. And being able to read the corporate social report and seeing where the dollars are being invested, I think it brings me to where we first met, was doing just that, being there, part of the veteran jobs mission, which JP Morgan started with founder companies, and with being part of cyber vets and being in places where Cisco and Amazon, who are rivals in some way, were not when it came to veteran hiring. I think this is an interesting intersection of how we kind of got to know each other, but our companies both had a desire to invest in and put resources into our military community and be more than just military friendly, but be military invested.
Yeah, and a lot of that really, Beau, comes from the leadership at the top. A lot of times, if you have a strong leader that is not just about words, but is about action, I think that goes a long way. But a lot of times it also can be a groundswell of the people within the company. And I know you and I both worked really closely with the ERGs, the employee resource groups, and the vets ERGs are just an amazing kind of a subsection of a company's culture, right? I mean, you can get so much value out of connecting with these ERGs because you have people that are really passionate, And they not only that, but they demonstrate great talent within the company. And so knowing how to kind of tap into your ERGs is almost like it's an art, quite frankly. I don't think companies do it enough in the right way. And I think that you and I have seen amazing ERGs, but are also a great tool for recruiting veteran talent and kind of being those champions and those advocates and those ambassadors for your company. It's the face of a company that really matters. And those ERGs are amazing places where you can find great talent, but also leverage to recruit great talent from the military.
You're 100% right with that too. I mean, the ERG network is something that I think companies don't know how to use them to their full potential a lot of times, because it's, first of all, every veteran that I talked to at Amazon, you probably wanted to be a recruiter. They all wanted to be recruiting and getting out there and talking to other veterans, although they had a day job where they couldn't. I was lucky enough to be able to do it as a full-time job. But, if you can empower your veteran resource group to go out, give them just a very little guidance and say, hey, this is what you can do to help the big picture company mission set, that's a good thing. And they want to do it, and they do it happily. And they're the ones that are going to tell their buddies that this is a good place to work or not a good place to work. And they're going to spread the word for you. So again, I think a small investment in your veteran resource groups, small amount of recognition for them, has a tenfold impact if you do it well, and your senior leadership appreciates what they bring to the table. It can be just a massive addition to what you're doing at really no or very minimal cost. And it makes the veterans inside the company feel better, and they're going to bring more veterans on. Or it becomes just kind of this machine that kind of keeps moving on its own. If you can get it and get it going in the right direction, it can really have a lot of momentum.
Absolutely. I think that what hasn't happened enough, and what we really tried to do at Cisco, was connect our we call them ERGs, employee resource groups or inclusive communities, with our people leaders, our HR organization, our recruiting team. And what's really great when you kind of start to connect the dots between what is seen as kind of more of an employee group that's more about, social connection and kind of cultural awareness. But when you align them to the actual strategy, the business strategy, the people strategy, it's amazing what happens, because not only do you have a group of passionate employees who are your best advocates, but you're also helping the recruiters, the hiring managers, see great talent, but also helping them understand, how do you navigate the different ways to tap into that talent. So, for example, working with the transition centers, working with the various veteran service organizations. Oftentimes, our veterans within our own walls can really help shape that strategy to be more effective. So they're not kind of going off and doing their own thing over here that's not aligned to the actual talent and workforce strategy. So I think when you can connect those two more tightly together, it really becomes much more strategic and much more value added. The other thing that I've seen work really well is when you connect the ERG with the sales organization. Like our public sector sales team did a lot of work in engaging our ERG members from the vet as they go out and help support customers in the public sector, in the government space. The credibility factor raises the level when you have people at the company that represent also the military and understand how to navigate the military itself. So it's actually a sales enablement opportunity when you tap into those amazing employees who are very passionate, but they also have a lot of knowledge. How do you navigate, the different language of the military when you're recruiting? And so helping to kind of bridge the gap between the two. So the business alignment to the people strategy.
That's one of the things I think that companies don't do a very good job as a whole. And I'll say this even from my own hat at Amazon, of making the business case for hiring veterans, because the impact comes in a myriad of different ways. Tax credits for hiring veterans, free internships by using skill bridge programs. You can get free money for apprenticeship programs for veterans. But you can leverage the veterans networks to support your sales, to support your HR, to support so many other things that I think just the community of veterans will gives you a 10x or a something X return on your investment over your traditional employee. And again, nothing, obviously you can't hire all veterans, but there is something special that a veteran brings, intangible quality, I think, and a connectiveness back into the bigger organization of the military that has the potential, if you utilize it well as a company to give you a bigger return on investment, so to speak, for hiring that veteran. Not to mention sort of the pure monetary piece of it, but there's also that connecting files that you talked about of their network, their willingness and their pride in having come from the military and wanting to stay engaged and wanting to keep that connection in some way, shape, or form while getting rid of their military uniform and putting on the civilian uniform, if you will, but still finding that sense of purpose. And if they can do both, and if your company can facilitate that, you're tapping into something that's special, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that the types of skills and capabilities that veterans bring is really unmatched, right? There is such a huge focus on the teamwork and kind of really results driven. And so we know that there are so many great qualities that a veteran can bring into the workplace. The other thing is veterans are the most diverse group of people within a company, if you think about it, in terms of the level of diversity and kind of that multifaceted diversity that companies are looking for and do need. And so when you can tap into a workforce, a veteran workforce, you're going to get inevitably a very diverse group of people coming into the company. The other thing I think is, not to miss out on how do you tap into veterans to really kind of shape your well-being strategy. I know that's something that a lot of companies are really focused on now around well-being and how to create workplaces that really are thriving and kind of bringing lots of resources. So tapping into your veterans to kind of understand what do they need, what's missing, how can we create benefits, for example, for those that are perhaps in the guard or the reserve and have to take leaves of absences. Are your policies and practices really conducive for bringing in veterans that may still be connected to the military? So I think there's a whole myriad of ways that you can leverage the veteran workforce in different ways that do drive business value and business impact.
And I think the diversity piece is something too that I used to hit on that all the time. That look, if you hire 100 veterans, you're going to have the most diverse workforce, out there. Now, again, I always had to caveat it. Probably going to be short on the female side, right? So obviously, the military just leans more male. But if you're talking about anything else, you're going to have the most diverse workforce. It's the most diverse, source of talent that exists out there. So I always said that if you hire veterans, you get double diversity, right? You get diversity because they're a veteran, which is important, but you're going to also have a higher percentage of diversity as a whole. If you look at the numbers, that's what the population is going to translate over. I think that's something that a lot of companies don't necessarily appreciate is the true diversity that the veteran population will bring you if you make the investment in that. Another thing I did want to talk some more too. I hit on it a little earlier, but one of the nicest things I thought of being part of the military community workspace, veteran hiring space was the camaraderie or the collaboration that we had between companies. Yeah. I think it's interesting to see that certainly banks or tech companies, they may be rivals day to day, but if you look back on what we did at the Veteran Jobs Mission, it's a model for the way companies could and should work together. Because again, I can't hire every veteran, but being able to get together in that collaborative way to share best practices, good and the bad, right, and to help each other out was something that was just a special part of being in that veteran workspace. And I'd love to hear your take of things that you did at Cisco. Y'all were leaders in this space in a lot of ways.
When I was leading the VETS program, we actually ranked number 2 military friendly. So something that I was really proud of that we were able to do that. But to be honest, it really does take work. And there's lots of ways that you can go about kind of, putting together programs. But when we talk about kind of the collaborative aspect, I think that's absolutely something that we don't do enough of. And the reality is that we are all, no matter what industry, but really, you mentioned tech industry, the financial industry, it's a race for talent, right? And we are all trying to go after the same high quality talent. And so instead of trying to, pick at it in our own different ways, when companies do come together and figure out how can, where are the opportunities and how can we create kind of faster pathways for talent to find us, number one, right? Because we know when you're transitioning out of the military, one of the biggest challenges is like, what types of programs do I leverage? What types of training do I want to pursue? And so I used to say, we drown them in a sea of goodwill because we are all throwing programs at them, free training. Cisco actually has the Networking Academy training that we offer free for veterans. I know Amazon has its own education learning system and training opportunities, but it becomes overwhelming. And so when we can start to make it a lot easier to navigate that transition by helping them connect to the programs that are going to bring them to those, meaningful careers, as we call it. Not only does it help the veteran, but it gives us a greater access to a broader pool of talent. Some great examples that you and I both worked on, right? The Cyber Vets program was a great program that we worked on. We have a number of other initiatives as well. But to your point, I personally think that bringing companies together, figuring out where are the connections, where are the commonalities, and instead of just writing checks to the same organization and kind of running away from each other, what if we combine those checks and made that much bigger of an impact? And so that is one of the things in my kind of career that I'm trying to look at. How do I kind of bring those people together, bring those strategies together, those solutions together, whether it be bringing vets ERG groups together and kind of really, doing a hackathon and figuring out how do we solve problems together. So that's kind of the fun that I'm looking forward to now that I've kind of gone into the consulting world. But there's more work to be done for sure.
Always more work to be done. That's a great transition to what you are doing now. I think there's always ways to improve what we're doing. And certainly there are some organizations out there that do pieces and parts of it. But how do you get the best and bring it all together in a way and make it accessible to as many customers and companies as possible? How do you bring the synergies all together? So I'd love to hear kind of, what is the pivot and what is the latest and greatest for Gina?
Yeah, it's a pivot, right? And so I feel like I have so much more to give because of all of the experience and the wonderful work that we did, over the years. I think part of it is just looking at a company, first and foremost, understanding what is their purpose? What are they trying to be as a company? What is their culture? But I think there is a big opportunity to figure out how do you align the purpose strategy of a company and the business strategy and kind of making those connections. So there's a lot, I think, of opportunity that's out there and just really getting to the core values of a company, understanding what they're trying to accomplish, where the gaps are in terms of their talent gaps, in terms of are they having trouble retaining great talent? And so really getting to those kind of core issues, those root causes, and then coming up with solutions. And there's plenty of them out there. And the beauty of it is that in the veteran service organization space, there are so many amazing organizations doing the great work. And just to kind of help navigate that a little bit more, I think it's going to be fun.
I think you're exactly right. Every company's a little different. Everything they're trying to do, their size, their scope, their talent needs. But I think that if you can help those companies build the roadmap to where they want to go, if you can help them connect the dots that are there, but they may not be aware of those dots, that's something that is certainly would be a value add to the larger kind of veteran and military ecosystem. Is that what you're hoping to do in Gina 2.0? Is that the goal? Obviously, it's consulting, but trying to assess where the company is today, where they want to go, leverage resources that are primarily already out there instead of recreating the wheel, which we shouldn't have to do. There's way too many VSOs and MSOs out there, right? A little bit of everything already exists, but how do you bring that together for a purpose-built strategy for a specific company to get the outcomes they're looking for?
I think a lot of companies right now, let's be honest, are looking at these programs, these talent strategies, these DE&I strategies, and kind of figuring out how do we reset? How do we kind of think about what we're currently doing? And given a lot of what's going on in terms of the changing policies is really level setting and understanding the portfolio of offerings that they may currently have. Are they compliant? Number one, are they truly inclusive? Are they, are they truly bringing value? So the kind of that strategic aspect, all the way down to really turnkey approaches to bringing more value in terms of their business strategy and connecting kind of into the military community. So there's kind of a wider range of things right now because my experience is so broad. I think that it's just more about understanding how to kind of shortcut a little bit of, that practice so that they're not spending a lot of time digging into what does this organization do? Should I partner with them? How much should I be investing in? How am I engaging my talent? And it's just to kind of really fast track it and get them the results they need, whether it's about recruitment, about retention strategies, about really kind of shifting cultures, and even around mergers and acquisitions. One of the things that I was benefit to work on is Cisco's merger with Splunk and really connecting the culture side of that acquisition. And so when you think about bringing two companies together, and really figuring out, like, do their cultures align, and how do we ensure that people are feeling like they can align with the company's culture? I think there's a lot of opportunity there as well. I'm excited to just kind of work with companies that are looking to accelerate their strategies, great business models.
I love it. Well, I'm excited for you. You have truly a wealth of experience. I said, I know I personally learned a lot from you when I was getting ramped up in the veteran hiring space, and you had an amazing run at Cisco, and I'm sure Gina 2.0 will also crush it as you move forward in this space. What's the best way for folks to reach out to you if they want to, if they hear this podcast and say, this is what I need to talk to Gina, she's going to help us out. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Find me on LinkedIn, GenaPirtle.com. Make it easy for you. Happy to just have an initial conversation, understand where your opportunities and challenges might be, and just kind of navigate that. Really appreciate it. And Beau, we had a lot of fun working in the spaces that we did. We're not done yet. We still got a lot going on. I'm just excited to see where the future is heading. I think this is a really exciting time for us. We're navigating a lot of change right now. Change often really brings even a better outcome, because we realize maybe we need to be focusing on things that we had not been focusing on before. Maybe we need to do things a little bit differently. And so we can help navigate through that change, so that we can all come out on the end in a positive light. I'm excited to continue to collaborate and seeing you around.
I love it. Change brings opportunity. Let's hope there's some great opportunities for both of us moving forward, and hopefully an opportunity to work together again soon. Again, thank you, Gina, for being on the podcast today, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Thanks, Beau. Great to see you. Thanks a lot.